Hi everybody, today is going to be the Thanksgiving video and we're just going to take a very quick look at Trump's cabinet. I know a lot of people are going to be busy today, you might not have time to get on YouTube. Hopefully everybody's having a great holiday, and thanks to everybody that's been supporting the channel over the months and even the years at this point. There's been some slow moments, but we're still going strong and we're going to keep on going. So I should probably take a little bit of time off here myself, but let's glance over some of these picks here for the cabinet. Now I'm not going to provide a ton of personal commentary on each one. There's plenty I don't know about a bunch of these picks, and even if I do, we still don't know what's going to happen. We also don't even know if they're all going to get confirmed. Some of them don't need to be confirmed, but a bunch of them do. So which ones jump out here? Well, Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. I think he's likely to have an easy path to confirmation. I don't think there's a strong level of controversy with Rubio. I'd consider himself to be more establishment, but there's times where he's tried to cozy up to Trump, so I guess he's kind of in that gray area. The bigger issue with Rubio is his resignation is going to trigger a special election for the Senate in Florida. That's where things could get a lot more crazy, just like with J.D. Vance's seat in Ohio with Governor DeWine. There are a lot of Florida picks on here, including Pam Bondi for Attorney General, who replaced Matt Gaetz. The most controversial picks seem to be Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now some of you might say the most controversial picks are the best ones because they get the establishment more riled up, which means they must be doing something right. So there is that side of it. But a lot of the establishment, especially on the Democratic side, does seem to be opposed to these nominees. But would they really be comfortable with a super establishment John Bolton type of pick for some of these posts? We already saw that last time. I think the base is completely done with those types of picks. That's probably why we're not going to see someone like Nikki Haley in this administration. But Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr., both former Democrats, so there's some ideological balance here. And I would think Democrats should be able to find at least one or two things they like about both of those picks, given that they used to be on their side of the aisle, because I don't think they've changed 100% of their views. A lot gets made about Pete Hegseth being a Fox News host, and there's some controversy around his confirmation with some allegations, just like with Matt Gaetz before he dropped out. As a general rule, anytime there's a confirmation for anything, once allegations or old stories emerge to try to discredit or smear a candidate, I think a lot of people are highly skeptical of the timing. And again, I think this would happen on both sides, especially the more anti-establishment they are. Now, could all be true? That's entirely possible. But in politics, character assassination is definitely a real thing. So if you're in the opposition and you're powerless on some of these picks, you might think the next best thing you could do is try to discredit some of these picks. Then we got Lori Chavez DeRemer here for Labor Secretary, who just lost her re-election bid to Janelle Bynum in Oregon. It sounds like she's more pro-labor than your standard establishment Republican. That might be a nod to Sean O'Brien from the Teamsters, and that could be a better look for Trump and not going hard against labor. There's some other characters from the past here like Kristi Noem and John Ratcliffe. You've got Sean Duffy in there, he's coming back. Down here then you've got Linda McMahon, who was also in the first administration. Doug Burgum, who was once the frontrunner for the VP pick, he's going to be Secretary of the Interior. There's some other familiar names on here, Doug Collins, Lee Zeldin. Some people are amped up about Susie Wiles for Chief of Staff. There's a whole lot here to be either excited about or scared of, depending on which side you're on. So for the most part, the cabinet is rounded out, especially with the major posts. The confirmation process might be tense, but Republicans are going to go into them with 53 seats. We'll have to see what Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins do. Maybe they all get confirmed, and maybe a couple of them don't, but then we're going to have to see how they govern. And it's either going to be your dream team or your worst nightmare. But let's move on to the Hill here and see what they have for the 5 takeaways. We're not going to go over all 5 of these, but there's a few of these that we should take a look at. The first one here is many MAGA loyalists, but not all. Trump has long been a figure who prizes loyalty, and his cabinet choices reflect that. Unlike his first administration, when he nominated several more establishment-type figures who he did not have a previous relationship with, this time Trump quickly assembled a team of agency leaders who have been staunch allies with solid credentials in the MAGA movement. That makes a ton of sense to me. I think any administration is going to want to have a certain level of loyalty. If you're going to pick people that are going to go against what you're trying to do, even if it's only once in a while, that's going to easily be a bad look for the administration and things might start to crumble. But if you're opposed to these picks, then I understand you're going to be a little bit more freaked out about that level of loyalty. Then the next part here is women secure top jobs. That goes more into the diversity of identity of immutable characteristics. But I think the much better aspect of diversity to focus on here is going to be of ideology. This says Trump has never fit the traditional mold of a conservative Republican, and the cabinet he has assembled in many ways reflects the coalition he built to return to the White House. He has nominated 2 longtime Democrats in Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the latter of whom has drawn criticism from some conservatives for his shifting views on abortion access. Then they talk about Lori Chavez DeRemer. She was one of just a few House Republicans to sign on and support the PRO Act. That would have bolstered collective bargaining rights. Trump has in the past spoken hostilely about striking workers. Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary is a former Democratic donor who worked with George Soros. So it's true some of these picks are a surprise. Probably the least surprising one was RFK Jr. Before Trump even won, it seemed like he was going to be the guy for Health and Human Services if Trump were able to win it. So finally, the last thing they point out here is going to be some difficult confirmation battles lay ahead. They talk about the Republicans having 53 seats, some of the allegations surrounding some of these picks, and if some of these picks are going to be able to win over more establishment Senate Republicans. I think some of these confirmation hearings are going to be completely wild. Democrats are going to be the opposition party, and they probably don't want to give Trump a win on pretty much anything. But it'll be interesting to see if one or two or maybe 3 or 4 Senate Democrats can break with their party on a couple of these picks. And one other way to take a look at this cabinet is going to be right here back on Wikipedia. This table shows you an outline of every cabinet pick. If the roles were reversed like they were 4 years ago when Biden was coming in with the Democratic Senate, I think it's a very similar story. Republicans were the opposition. They didn't want to give Biden a win, but maybe 1 or 2 cross over for a couple of votes, and it was a narrow majority for Biden. So he was a little bit more incentivized to not go with anything too crazy. Trump is a very different president. He might be completely unpredictable. We're going to be watching the border. We're going to be watching tariffs. We've got conflicts going on internationally. Plus, there's a ton of issues going on here back home. There's really no shortage of things that could go right as well as wrong for Trump. So I think he's in a high risk, high reward type of presidency. It was sort of similar when Biden came in after COVID. COVID did go away, but then inflation kind of took its place. And eventually that, along with immigration, eventually became too much. So we're going to see what happens. But for now, let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of these picks? What do you think about some of the obvious ones like Tulsi Gabbard or Kennedy? And then how about anything under the radar here like John Ratcliffe or maybe Sean Duffy as Secretary of Transportation? Do you think all these nominees are going to be confirmed? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next time.